Hey, what is up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. I am your host, DHR2 Productions, and so we're going to be talking about the Mortal Kombat reboot should lead to a Street Fighter reboot. And I found this on comicbook.com. And what are my overall thoughts on it? I think they shouldn't even begin to do a Street Fighter reboot because, let's face it, the first one from 1994 was a big mess and it was a disaster from beginning to end. And apparently, the animated version of the Street Fighter movie, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, was a lot better than the real one, the one with featured Jean-Claude Van Damme in it. Now, even though the movie sucked, there was a video game adaptation of that actual film, and it's pretty much a Mortal Kombat ripoff. But the thing is, they didn't do the fatalities. They just did your standard classic Street Fighter 2 special movement and special moves. Now, the question is, should there even be a Street Fighter reboot? Yes and no. Yes, because we need a fresh take on Street Fighter. Whether it's going to be based on the first Street Fighter game from 1987, then I'm all for it. But if it's based on Street Fighter 2, I would say find the best casting choice that you can have and try to make the best out of it. Because let's face it, the Street Fighter franchise needs a reboot. And no, the reason why I say no is because video game movies sometimes can become very complicated when it comes to Hollywood rise. I mean Hollywood wise. They can either be good or bad. But I'm not holding my breath. All we can do is just imagine and continue to just think. Just think, of what's gonna happen if we ended up if we do end up getting a Street Fighter reboot. That's if it happens. I'm not sure. And if you notice, I got gave myself a good shave, bringing back the goatee. So yeah. So let's get to the article. What's up, Sean? Didn't see you. Hold on, let me send an invite. All right, so here we go, y'all. So remember when I said something about a Street Fighter reboot? This is what I was talking about. After years of winning, the Mortal Kombat reboot film officially released last month to what by all accounts was pretty successful debut given the the oddities of the past year and the continued COVID-19 pandemic. It did well at the box office on its opening weekend, considering the challenges it faced. And a whole bunch of people seem to have watched it on HBO Max. Honestly, it feels like a sequel to the film is more of a when and not an if conversation at the moment. But if there's one thing beyond a sequel that a recent Mortal Kombat reboot should lead to is a Street Fighter reboot movie. Now, does there really need to be a new Street Fighter movie reboot? Reboot movie? No, of course not. The world will keep turning without it. And other movies will get made, but if Hollywood is looking to mine lower field fighting games for adaptation, next natural installment beyond Mortal Kombat could and should be Street Fighter. After all, both franchise had their shot in the 90s around the same time. Here's the thing with me on this. Like I said, I would support that Street Fighter should and should not get a reboot. It's kind of like a mixed bag for me because when you actually think about it, the 90s Street Fighter movie was a disaster. It was a train wreck from beginning to end. And it made no sense at all. You know, they barely did any Street Fighter moves, and the martial arts fight scenes were just a mess. Characters felt two dimensional, and the music is atrocious of all things. I mean, I personally feel like they should make a reboot of Street Fighter because they pretty much did itself. I think Street Fighter Legacy, when it was about, Ryu and Kent, and of course Akuma. So I think I saw a Blu-ray DVD of Street Fighter Legacy at Walmart somewhere. I don't know if it's around the time, but I think it was back then. I'm not sure, but it's still on YouTube. So to me, I really feel like they should just come out with a Street Fighter movie. Whether it's going to be the first Street Fighter game or just Street Fighter 2. And I do have my worries that it's going to end up having the same result as the first Street Fighter film back in '94. Now, I do wish that they would just come out with a reboot. Maybe somewhere down the line they would have just announced it. Because I don't think Capcom wouldn't even consider their hold on for a minute, y'all. Sorry, I had to take care of something. All right, so let's get back to this article. Now, oh, so I already read this one. If you are somehow not familiar of Street Fighter movies released in 1994, which I mentioned, and they already got the characters and the name of the actors playing Street Fighter characters, so I'm not going to name them all. Of course, I mean, of these, Win and Julia were perhaps the best fit for their roles, and the most memorable scene from the scene decades later remains one between Bison and Chun-Li. It's a fairly stacked casting, especially when you compare it to lesser known cast for the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. Both movies were commercially successful, but had a mix at best reception from critics at the same time. Now, the Street Fighter movie was garbage, and I can see why it has the lowest ratings in history. But I kind of feel like Mortal Kombat '95 did it better, despite not having blood and fatalities. The only time I've seen blood is when they showed Shang Tsung's lip bleeding. That was about it. The Street Fighter movie is particular came across as campy, uh, overroute romp. Um, wait, what is it? Overroute? Yeah. Uh, overroute romp. Which, while that is certainly one way you can, one way you could adapt the franchise, the Mortal Kombat reboot does offer an alternative, uh, alternate in venue. Sorry for my bad reading, y'all. I hate reading articles. I really do. Alternative in venue, focusing on the fights and what makes the franchise unique. The Mortal Kombat reboot still makes plenty of goofs, but it takes a serious. I mean, it takes the serious part seriously. The trick is, and I can't say these words right, man. It's too much. Oh, synthesizing the two together. And is it to say that a new Street Fighter reboot could happen purely because of the critical reception to the new Mortal Kombat movie? The 2021 reboot currently only sits around, what are you talking about? 11%. Am I reading this right? That makes no sense. 11%. I thought it was only 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. What are they talking about? Bro, this is stupid. I don't like this. Over the original 1995 movie on Rotten Tomatoes. It's more than that. There's been plenty of time between now and 1994 after. Oh, oh man. Wait a second. I'm trying to get my thoughts in. The Street Fighter movie from 1994 is sitting around 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought they was talking about the Mortal Kombat on the Mortal Kombat reboot. The Mortal Kombat movie only has 54% Rotten Tomatoes, but the Street Fighter 1994 movie is in this route. After 30 years, Street Fighter really deserves another round in the box office ring. Bloody action packed fights, Street Fighters got that. A large roster of characters to pull from with the Turrigate, interwoven backstories. Street Fighters got that too. While while the Street Fighter franchise might not have fatalities like Mortal Kombat, which provides an excellent excuse for gore and splatter, it does have unique, powerful moves like super and ultra combos. There are plenty of other fighting video game franchise that would make for great movie adaptation in this day and age, like Soul Calibur or Tekken. But Street Fighter most closely aligned aligns with Mortal Kombat as a franchise compared to many of the other possibilities. Look, as far as like, having the blood and the fights and everything, I truly felt like both Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat is, you know, both franchises have hits and misses, but it's only a matter of time before either of them should even get a movie adaptation, especially with Street Fighter, because we all know how the last one turned out. But the part where it says about the combos and supers and the ultras, um, now where it says Soul Calibur or Tekken. Now, granted, I wouldn't mind seeing the Soul Calibur movie because it's pretty much needed to be on the big screen, depending on who they cast. Because Tekken already had like two movies and both of them suck. So, and given the P chant for Hollywood to reboot previously attempt franchises, it really doesn't feel outside the realm of possibility. Possibility that a new Street Fighter movie adaptation could happen over the next decade. The video game remains popular after all, which is part of what helped the Mortal Kombat reboot movie get made. Oh, well, this is what the person said, but look, if you want to, yeah, the link to this article is in the description. But getting back to what I was saying before, kind of mixed on whether Street Fighter should get a video game adaptation another round. But My main concern for this reboot, if it does happen, is the lack of fight scenes and the camera cutaways and the editing and the quick cuts and the jump cuts, like the 2021 Mortal Kombat suffer from. And let's just say if we were to get a sequel to the Mortal Kombat movie, I would probably have Zack Snyder direct the Mortal Kombat movie because if you look at the Justice League, the Snyder's Cut version, and Army of the Dead, the fight scenes they did not cut away from that. There were no bad editings on it whatsoever. It was the perfect Zack Snyder movie. And imagine Mortal Kombat getting that same treatment. I would have loved to watch that myself, whether it's going to be on Netflix or in theaters. Personally, I would rather just have the Mortal Kombat sequel being made to Netflix because that can easily work. So, so getting back to what I was saying about this Street Fighter reboot, is it happening? No, but what I would love for all of the characters that were in the Street Fighter, whether it's from Street Fighter 1 or 2, to be in this movie. Have the story make sense, have the writing be good, and the fights be more watchable and entertaining. So, yeah. So that's just my thoughts on the Street Fighter reboot possibly being made. That's if we're ever gonna get it. So yeah, let me know what y'all thoughts. Do you want the Street Fighter movie to be remade, or do you think it should just stay in its place and in the 1994 route? So yeah, I'm out of here, y'all.